Here with Mr. Brad Mayo, Congressman for District 12 here in Oxford. And District 12 covers pretty much all of Oxford, right?
Yeah, after redistricting, this is a growing area, so the geographic area got smaller. So now it's the city limits, and it moves out west, takes in Wellsgate, Cumberland, and then it runs north and west out sort of to Sardis. But those are the primary areas.
How many people do you really represent in this area?
It's about 26,000.
Okay.
But you know, an interesting thing is they actually count students in our census data, at least a large number of students.
Okay.
So if you look, we may actually have fewer total votes than some of the areas around us because a lot of students are counted in our census numbers.
Well, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Now, Congressman, you were, or you still are, a financial advisor?
I am.
And where do you work exactly?
I've got my own office downtown. I'm an investment advisor, which means I do everything from financial planning, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, insurance needs for clients.
Now, do you find that as an advantage being up down there in Jackson?
It makes me comfortable with numbers. It makes me comfortable with budgeting. It helps me see that even if you're dealing with very large numbers, you can boil them down to relatively smaller concepts. You know, what you do at home, you just extrapolate out to do with the capital. Right.
And you've been congressman now for 4 years?
Yeah.
There's two things I want to focus on that you introduced or sponsored down in Jackson as your times representative. One of them was introduced to increase the gas tax.
Yeah.
Can you talk to me a little about that?
Yeah, so last year actually I had two bills together, and the way legislation can work, you can have two bills and run them individually and combine them so that they're in a combined bill, and you just try to do that to get through the process. So at the end, you know, maybe you have the availability to pass both of them.
Right.
So what I wanted to do was look at lowering the income tax and increasing the fuel tax. We need more money in our transportation system. Everybody agrees we need more money for it. There are only two ways to go about it. You can either go to the general fund and get money, and there are a lot of pressures on that. There are a lot of other needs and wants that we have, specifically for education in this area. And so, you know, the fuel tax is a use tax. Those who use the roads pay the tax, and so
whoever uses more pays more.
Right, and so I'm a big proponent of use tax. So conveniently, fuel prices have started to go down. We're going to have to do something at some point, and I felt like that was.
I think about John 55 and kind of.
Yeah, well, and you know, interstates are problems, but really, when you talk to members from other parts of the state, I mean, small communities, you know, talking to Tommy Reynolds and trying to get down to Coffeyville, you know, taking Highway 315, it's full of potholes, and we've got to be able to maintain what we have. But we also have to look for economic development reasons at developing further infrastructure. You know, I talked to the head of MDA about that this week. You know, we've got to be able to come up with programs to be able to allow people to get goods and products out of areas. You know, you may have an area that's primed for economic growth, and they have everything going for them except for transportation infrastructure. So plants and site managers may look at it and go, hey, we'd love to come to your community, but we can't get there, or we can't get our product out of there once we manufacture it. And so we need to make value decisions based off of that.
Now that bill was killed in committee. Why is that?
Well, I think that it was a bill where a lot of people really didn't want to talk about a tax increase.
That's always a tough
in election year. That's my assessment of it. I was never told a reason, but that's what I think.
Okay. Now the other one I want to talk to you about was the deferment of income tax to doctors and nurses for 10 years.
Yeah.
You sponsored that. How did you come up with that?
Well, my first year in the legislature, the governor had a big healthcare package aimed at developing a healthcare economy in Mississippi. And I was fortunate to grow up in Oxford and actually see the growth of the healthcare economy. My father's a physician. When I moved to town, I was a Navy brat. My dad was in the Navy. We moved here, which is kind of our ancestral home, and he was around the 25th doctor in town.
Wow.
And there are over 100 now. We're building a brand new $300 million hospital. We have an outpatient surgery center. We have a cancer treatment center. We have a GI center. We have all sorts of healthcare jobs that weren't there when I was young. And we bring in employees from all around. And the governor developed this package and said, I want to develop healthcare economies like Oxford's around Mississippi. Now, you can't put one in every county, but you can put one, say, one in every 3 to 4 county area, and they service all those counties.
So is there like a hospital shortage in Mississippi?
Hospital is maybe, but really what you're looking at more is primary care.
Okay.
You know, we have people that are diabetics and they're not treating it the way they should. They're overweight and they're not treating it the way they should. And then that leads to further hospital bills. For instance, if you're diabetic and you maintain your diabetes, your likelihood of having a high-end hospital bill later are much lower. So the cost of preventing or maintaining your diabetes is better. It's a better cost judgment. It's a better cost
Right.
for the state than paying one large bill later.
At the end, when it's
At the
too
end.
late.
Right.
It's gone too far.
Or when you have to lose a foot. And so
Right.
now, if you're diabetic, you have to lose a foot. That's an expensive hospital bill, but then you come out and what are your work prospects? They're a lot harder for a 1 foot person.
Right.
And so.
And a burden on the state after that too.
Right. So then, instead of being able to contribute, you're not. And you may actually use state services without being able to contribute to them. And so it puts you at a disadvantage. So what we have is a primary care shortage.
Okay.
This bill was aimed at that. And so the governor had his bill my first year, and what I thought was a weakness of it, and from talking to staff, they agreed, was we have what's called the Rural Physician Scholars Program,
Okay.
which is aimed at trying to get physicians from rural areas to go to medical
We have
school.
that now.
We do.
Okay.
And it's scholarships to medical school if you agree to go to a rural community in Mississippi. But the problem that I see with it is it's based off of a federal definition of rural. So 79 of 82 counties in Mississippi qualify.
Mm-hmm.
So that would pay for somebody from Oxford to go to medical school and come back to Oxford.
Right.
And
It's not really what you're aiming for.
right. As much as I love Oxford and want to help Oxford's economy
Right.
grow, we need to develop some of our other communities for medical infrastructure. And so I worked with them and said, hey, let's come up with a tighter definition, a really tight definition,
Mm-hmm.
because, is it fair to give a tax break to a doctor to move to Oxford? Probably not.
Yeah.
And so instead, this looked at primary care, and it looked at our most medically underserved communities. And the thing about the healthcare delivery system now is you have physicians, but you also may have nurse practitioners that they're overseeing, or physicians' assistants,
Right.
or and they have nurses in their offices. And so if you can get a doctor, a physician to go into a community and have a nurse practitioner or a PA with them, and they can have a full complement of nurses, you can really see a lot of patients in a day. And so that's what that bill is aimed at doing. It kind of came up short last year. It really got caught in the crossfire of an income tax bill,
Mm-hmm.
and so it didn't go through.
Right.
But I would expect that to be something that is a priority this year.
Okay.
Should I be
Going
reelected?
on.
Yeah, because we've got to get people more primary care,
Right.
and the Affordable Care Act, like it, don't like it, whatever, it got some people insurance, and there's debatable about the quality of the insurance.
Right.
But if they don't have a healthcare person,
What's good as insurance?
practitioner to take it, what good's it for? And so this is aimed at solving that problem.
Yeah.
Okay, now if you're covered, here's somebody you can go see.
So you mentioned something interesting here. You talk about you getting these primary cares in rural parts of Mississippi where it's not part of your district. How do you balance that between taking care of a district and also looking at the whole of Mississippi? What is your job as representative to care for it?
It's both. You've got to look at.
How do you balance that?
I think it's each issue you have to look at.
Okay.
And sometimes you have to look at things where you may say, my district, because I come from an affluent district.
Right.
My district, we help underwrite programs all around the state
Right.
with our tax dollars because we're an exporter of tax dollars in the state. So I want policy that provides efficient government so that I can look all my constituents in the eye and say, I did my best to get you good value for your tax dollars, whether it's here or whether it's in the Pine Belt or the hills or the Delta or on the coast. So that's one way to look at it. Another way is, you may be looking at specific policies that affect only specific areas or types of areas, for instance, rural areas. And if I feel it sacrifices my area, then I'm not as inclined to support it. But if I feel it lifts our underserved areas at no real expense to my area, then I think a rising tide's lifting all boats there.